A gunshot cracked through the rain. The black SUV swerved violently across the slick Seoul highway as another bullet shattered the rear window. Drivers slammed their brakes, horns screamed, and headlights blurred through the storm. "Get down!" the driver shouted. Before the passenger could react, another SUV ran into them from the side. Metal shrieked. Glass exploded. The luxury vehicle spun twice before crashing into the guardrail. 24-year-old Nia Okafor froze. She had been waiting for a late-night bus after finishing another exhausting hospital shift when she saw the wreck happen right in front of her. People watched. Some pulled out their phones. Others ran away. But Nia sprinted toward the smoking vehicle. Inside, a man was trapped. Blood trickled down his forehead as the driver's airbag slowly deflated. The driver was unconscious. The passenger struggled to breathe. Hannah yanked at the mangled door. "It won't open." She looked around desperately. "Someone help me!" Nobody moved. The rain grew heavier. Then she spotted a metal rod lying near the crash. She grabbed it with trembling hands and forced it between the twisted door and the frame. "Come on! Come on!" With one final push. Crack! The door swung open. She climbed inside without thinking. "Sir, can you hear me?" The man slowly opened his eyes. Dark. Cold. Piercing. For a brief second, it felt as though he wasn't looking at a stranger. He was studying her. Then another burst of gunfire echoed from down the highway. Nia's eyes widened. "They're coming back!" The injured man grabbed her wrist. His voice was weak but calm. "Leave me." "What?" "They'll kill you." "I'm not leaving you." "You don't understand." "No," she replied, tightening her grip around his arm. "I understand that someone is trying to murder you, and I'm not walking away." He stared at her in complete silence, almost as if nobody had ever disobeyed him before. Before this story gets even crazier, take 2 seconds to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments, would you risk your own life to save a complete stranger? Because Hannah had no idea that the decision she made in this moment was about to change her life forever. Sirens echoed faintly in the distance. Too far away. The injured man reached inside his coat and pulled out a small black phone. His hand shook. He pressed only one button. "Find me!" That was all he said before losing consciousness. Nia immediately checked his pulse. Weak. Very weak. "No, no! Stay with me!" She tore off part of her scarf and wrapped it around the wound on his shoulder. "Stay awake!" His eyelids barely moved. Within minutes, ambulances surrounded the crash site. Paramedics rushed toward them. One of them looked surprised. "You kept him alive." "I just applied pressure." "No," another medic said while examining the wounds. "You did exactly what needed to be done." As they loaded him into the ambulance, one of the paramedics asked, "Are you family?" Nia hesitated. "No." "Then how do you know him?" "I don't." The paramedic blinked. "You don't know him?" She simply shook her head. Hours later, Nia sat quietly in the hospital hallway wearing borrowed clothes because hers were soaked with rain and stained with blood. She stared at the vending machine across from her. Her hand still wouldn't stop shaking. She kept replaying his final words. "Leave me." Who was he? Why were people shooting at him? Why did he seem more worried about her than himself? A nurse approached. "Miss Okafor?" "Yes." "The patient you rescued, he's asking for you." She frowned. "For me?" "He refuses to speak to anyone else." Inside the private recovery room, the atmosphere felt strangely different. 2 men in black suits stood beside the door. Both wore earpieces. Neither looked like ordinary bodyguards. One scanned Nia from head to toe before allowing her inside. The patient was sitting upright despite the doctor's protests. His injuries looked severe, yet he carried himself like someone who refused to appear weak. When Nia entered, he looked directly at her. "You came." She folded her arms. "You almost died. You saved me. I only did what anyone should." A faint smile crossed his face. "No." His answer was immediate. "Most people watched." She couldn't argue with that. He reached toward the bedside table. One of the suited men immediately handed him an envelope. The stranger extended it toward Nia. She didn't take it. "What's that?" Thank you. I don't want money. It isn't charity. I still don't want it." The room became silent. Even the bodyguards exchanged glances. He slowly lowered the envelope. "No one refuses me." "Well," Nia shrugged slightly. "Now someone has. For the first time since the crash." He laughed. Not loudly. Just enough for everyone in the room to stare. One bodyguard whispered to another, "I've never seen that before." He looked back at Nia. "What is your name?" "Nia. Nia Okafor." "And yours?" "June." "Just June?" "For now." She narrowed her eyes. "You really expect me to believe that's your full name?" He smiled again. "No." She sighed. "You know, mysterious people are usually trouble. And yet you still saved one." She couldn't help smiling. "Maybe I make bad decisions." "No." His gaze lingered on her. "I think you make dangerous ones." The following morning, Nia returned to her life. Or at least she tried to. She resumed her hospital duties, and forced herself to forget about the strange man named June. But forgetting him became impossible. Because every single day, fresh flowers appeared at the nurse's station. No card. No cinder. Just white lilies. Her favorite flower. The first day, she assumed someone made a mistake. By the fourth day, everyone noticed. "Secret admirer?" one nurse teased. "I don't have one." "Then who keeps sending these?" Nia honestly had no idea. Until one evening when she left the hospital. Parked across the street was a sleek black sedan. The rear window rolled down. June sat inside, still wearing a bandage over his shoulder. "You've been sending the flowers." "I have." "How did you know they were my favorite?" "You smiled at them in the hospital lobby." "I did?" "You didn't notice." She shook her head. "That's a little creepy. I prefer observant." She laughed to spite herself. "What do you want?" "Dinner." "I'm busy." "Tomorrow." "I might still be busy." He looked genuinely thoughtful. "Then I'll wait." She blinked. "You wait." "As long as necessary." "Do you always get what you want?" "No." His eyes softened. "I already met someone who proved otherwise." For reasons she couldn't explain. Her heart skipped a beat. A week later, she finally agreed. Not because of the flowers, but because she wanted answers. The restaurant he chose overlooked the Han River. Elegant, quiet, and private. When Nia arrived, the staff greeted June with unusual respect. Almost fear. Every employee bowed slightly. No one delayed his requests. Even the restaurant manager personally served their table. Nia noticed everything. "You come here often?" "Sometimes." "They seem nervous." "They're simply being polite." She wasn't convinced. Halfway through dinner, his phone vibrated. He glanced at it. His expression changed instantly. Warmth disappeared. Cold calculation replaced it. "I have to take this." He stepped onto the balcony. The glass door remained slightly open. Nia wasn't trying to eavesdrop. But one sentence drifted inside with the wind. "Find the traitor before sunrise." Her smile vanished. Moments later, he returned as though nothing had happened. "Everything okay?" "Business." "What kind of business?" He looked at her for several seconds. The kind that follows me home. Before Nia could ask another question, every light in the restaurant suddenly went out. Darkness swallowed the room. Someone screamed. A window shattered. Then gunfire echoed through the building. Nia's heart stopped. June was already on his feet. His eyes scanned every exit with terrifying precision. And for the first time, she realized this wasn't a man who had simply survived violence. This was a man who had lived in it. Darkness swallowed the restaurant as another gunshot rang out. Guests screamed and dove for cover. Nia dropped beneath the table just as bullets ripped through the dining room. She searched frantically for June. He wasn't where he was standing. A masked man burst through the shattered window with a handgun raised. Before he could pull the trigger, a figure appeared from the darkness. June. His movements were frighteningly precise. He grabbed the attacker's wrist, twisted it, and sent the pistol skidding across the floor before driving the man into a marble pillar. Everything happened so fast. Nia stared in disbelief. That wasn't luck. That wasn't self-defense. That was years of training. Two more armed men stormed through the emergency exit. One shouted in Korean, "There he is!" Without hesitation, June overturned a heavy dining table, using it as cover. Bullets tore through expensive wine bottles behind him. Glass rained across the room. "Nee!" he shouted. "Stay down." She had spent years working in emergency medicine. She'd seen accidents and blood. But she'd never seen someone move through chaos as calmly as June did. One attacker circled behind him. Before Nia could think, she saw it. "Behind you!" June spun just in time. The knife missed his chest by inches. He disarmed the man with brutal efficiency before landing a single punch that knocked him unconscious. Silence. Only the sound of broken glass and terrified breathing remained. Within seconds, several men dressed in black suits rushed into the restaurant. Unlike the attackers, these men weren't panicking. They immediately surrounded June. "Sir, are you injured? The area is clear." One of them bowed slightly before speaking again. "We've captured one alive." Nia frowned. "Captured? Who are these people?" One of the suited men noticed her staring. His expression softened. "Miss Okafor, are you hurt?" She blinked. "How do you know my name?" The man instantly realized his mistake. He looked toward June. June sighed quietly. "I told you not to investigate her. We only wanted to ensure her safety, sir." Nia slowly stood. "Investigated me?" "No." June hesitated. "I had someone make sure you weren't in danger after the accident." "That's still investigating. I needed to know you were safe." Her expression hardened. "No, you wanted information. I wanted peace of mind." She couldn't tell whether he was lying or telling the truth. Either way, it bothered her. Outside, flashing police lights painted the rain-soaked streets blue and red. Before officers entered the restaurant, June's security team quietly escorted him through a private exit. He turned back one last time. "Nia." She folded her arms. "You should go. I'll explain." "When?" "Soon. You keep saying that." Their eyes met. For the first time since they met. June looked uncertain. "I don't want you caught in my world," she replied softly. "I think it's a little late for that." The next morning, Seoul didn't wake up to headlines about an attempted attack on an unnamed businessman. It was as though the entire incident had been buried overnight. Nia sat in the hospital cafeteria scrolling through the news. Nothing. Not one article mentioned June. Not even the luxury restaurant where the shooting occurred. Her colleague leaned over. "What are you looking for?" "Oh, nothing." "You've been distracted lately." "Yeah, I've just been tired." People don't simply erase shootings from the news. Someone powerful had made sure of that. That evening, as her shift ended, she found a familiar black sedan waiting outside. She almost walked past it. The rear door opened. June stepped out himself. I owe you the truth. You owe me a lot more than that. I know. I almost died last night. So did I. She looked at him for seconds. Who are you? Instead of answering, he handed her a small paper bag. Inside was a tiny carved wooden elephant. She frowned. My grandmother used to collect these. I know. She looked up sharply. You know? When my people looked into your background, they discovered you grew up in Enugu, Nigeria. She stiffened. My grandmother raised me there. I know. You know far too much. I stopped them after that. You should have never started. He nodded. You're right. His honesty caught her off guard. I'm sorry. The apology sounded genuine. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Finally, Nia sighed. Walk with me. They wandered beside the Han River in comfortable silence. The city lights reflected across the water. I came to Korea 5 years ago, Nia finally said. I wanted a better life. June listened quietly. My father wanted me to study engineering. She smiled sadly. But I always wanted to help people. So you became a nurse. She nodded. I work nights because they pay better. You send money home? She looked surprised. You figured that out too? I guessed. She laughed softly. Good guess. And you? She asked. What did you always want to become? June stared across the river. I never had a choice. She noticed the pain hidden beneath those words. What does that mean? It means my life was decided before I understood what life was. His voice carried no anger, only resignation. Nia wanted to ask more. Instead, she asked something else. Do you have a family? A long silence followed. I did. The answer felt heavier than any explanation. She didn't push further. For the first time, she saw someone completely different from the man who fought armed attackers without fear. She saw loneliness. Real loneliness. Days passed. Against all logic, they continued seeing each other. Coffee after work. Late-night walks. June insisted Korean barbecue was unbeatable. Nia laughed. You've obviously never had a Nigerian party jollof. I'm willing to be convinced. You would need to visit Nigeria. He smiled. Maybe one day. She smiled back. Maybe. Without realizing it, she had started looking forward to seeing him. She even caught herself smiling whenever his name appeared on her phone. One rainy evening, they found themselves sheltering beneath the roof of a small convenience store. You know, June said quietly, before that night on the highway. What? I had forgotten what kindness looked like. She looked at him. You barely knew me. Exactly. You still trusted me? No. He smiled. I trusted your actions. She felt warmth spread across her face. The rain continued falling. For a brief moment, the world felt peaceful. Then everything changed. A black motorcycle stopped across the street. The rider never removed his helmet. Instead, he slid a small envelope beneath June's parked car before disappearing into traffic. June immediately noticed it. His expression darkened. He walked over slowly, picked it up and opened it. Inside was only one photograph. Nia leaving the hospital, walking home alone. Across the top, someone had written 3 chilling words in red ink. She knows enough. Below it, one final sentence. Finish them both. June's face lost every trace of color. Nia stepped closer. What is it? He quickly folded the photograph. Nothing. She reached for it. He pulled it away. June! His voice became firmer than she'd ever heard. You need to leave Seoul. She frowned. What? Tonight. I'm not going anywhere. You don't understand. Then explain. He looked into her eyes. For several agonizing seconds, he fought with himself. Finally, he whispered the words that shattered everything she thought she knew. My name isn't June. Her heart skipped. My name is Kong Junaseo. He swallowed hard. And every man who tried to kill me works for one of the most powerful criminal syndicates in Korea. Nia's lips parted in disbelief. Before she could speak, black SUVs surrounded them from every direction. Doors flew open. Dozens of armed men stepped out. One elderly man emerged from the lead vehicle. His suit was spotless. His hair was neatly combed. Yet the coldness in his eyes froze the air. He smiled at Nia, then looked at Kong Junaseo. So, he said calmly, the African girl is the one who stole the heart of Korea's most feared mafia boss. Nia's world stopped. The stranger raised his hand. Every weapon pointed directly at them. And for the first time since the crash on that rainy highway, she realized falling in love with a stranger had just become the most dangerous decision of her life. Every weapon locked onto them. The rain returned without warning, drumming against the black SUVs, as if the sky itself sensed what was about to happen. Nia's breathing became shallow. Her eyes shifted from one armed man to another. There had to be at least 20 of them. Men whose faces carried no emotion. The elderly man standing at the front adjusted his black gloves before smiling at Kong Junaseo. I expected better judgment from you. Junaseo stepped in front of Nia without hesitation. Leave her out of this. The old man chuckled. That's exactly why I can't. Nia looked between them. Who is he? Junaseo didn't take his eyes off the man. His name is Chairman Beck. The old man's smile widened. I'm impressed. You still introduce me with respect. I respect what you once were. And what am I now? Junaseo answered without emotion. A monster who mistakes fear for loyalty. The smile disappeared from Chairman Beck's face. So the rumors are true. What rumors? Nia asked. Beck laughed softly. They say the boy I raised has finally grown a conscience. Nia frowned. Raised? Junaseo closed his eyes briefly. He isn't my father. But he raised you. No. Beck corrected him. I made you. Silence fell. Nia could barely process what she was hearing. Beck slowly walked closer. When I found him, he was a frightened teenager with nothing but anger. Junaseo's fists tightened. I gave him purpose. I gave you power. You taught me how to kill. And you became the best. Nia turned toward Junaseo. Tell me he's lying. Junaseo finally looked at her. His eyes carried something she had never seen before. Shame. I can't. Her heart sank. I've done terrible things. The words landed like stones. I spent years believing violence was the only language this world understood. Beck folded his hands behind his back. He wasn't just another soldier. His voice carried unmistakable pride. He became the youngest leader any family in our organization had ever produced. The armed men around them lowered their heads ever so slightly. Not to Beck. To Junaseo. Nia noticed. Even his enemies respected him. Or feared him. Junaseo continued quietly. I thought fear could protect people. His voice cracked. It only destroyed them. Nia remembered the way he had comforted frightened children in the hospital. The way he quietly paid for an elderly stranger's groceries without saying a word. The way he listened whenever she spoke about Nigeria. Which version was real? The feared mafia boss? Or the man who waited outside a hospital with flowers? As though reading her thoughts, Junaseo whispered, Both! Beck clapped slowly. Finally! He looked toward Nia. Do you know how many men have died because of him? Junaseo interrupted. Enough. Beck ignored him. Dozens. Then he smiled. Perhaps hundreds. Nia's eyes filled with tears. Jun Seo didn't deny it. I left. His voice remained calm. I dissolved my division. You betrayed the family. I ended the violence under my command. Beck laughed loudly. Ended? He spread his arms dramatically. You embarrassed us. His expression hardened. You stole millions in criminal assets. Jun Seo interrupted. I returned them. Freed trafficked victims. They deserved freedom. And handed evidence to prosecutors through anonymous channels. Jun Seo remained silent. Beck nodded. I see. He turned to his men. Do you understand now? His voice echoed across the empty street. This is why betrayal cannot be forgiven. Without warning, Beck snapped his fingers. A deafening explosion erupted behind them. Jun Seo spun around. His black sedan burst into flames. The blast threw Nia backward. Before she could regain her balance, two masked men grabbed her arms. Jun Seo! He lunged toward her. 3 rifles immediately pointed at his chest. Take one more step, Beck warned calmly, and she dies first. Jun Seo stopped. Every muscle in his body tensed. Knee! She struggled against the men holding her. Beck watched the scene with amusement. Interesting. He tilted his head. I've seen this young man execute rivals without blinking. But a single woman, he smiled cruelly, brings him to his knees. Jun Seo's voice became dangerously quiet. If you hurt her, you'll do what? Beck interrupted. Return to the family? No. Kill me. No. Jun Seo looked him directly in the eyes. I'll end everything you spent 40 years building. For the first time, Chairman Beck looked genuinely unsettled. Then he laughed again. That's the spirit I created. He motioned toward the vehicles. Take the girl. Nia screamed as she was forced toward an SUV. Jun Seo surged forward despite the rifles. Gunshots rang out. Not at him. On the pavement. A warning. Beck wasn't ready to kill him. He wanted him to suffer first. The SUV door slammed shut. Nia pounded against the tinted window. Jun Seo! Their eyes met one last time as the convoy sped into the night. Jun Seo stood motionless in the rain. One of his most trusted men, Minho, rushed to his side. Boss! Jun Seo didn't respond. Boss, what are your orders? Jun Seo slowly wiped the rain and the tears from his face. When he finally spoke, his voice carried the same authority that had once made criminal empires tremble. Call every captain who remained loyal. Minho nodded immediately. Yes, boss. Wake every safe house. Freeze every account Beck controls. It'll cripple his operations. I know. Minho hesitated. And the police? Jun Seo looked toward the disappearing convoy. No more hiding. He reached into his pocket and removed his secure phone. There was only one contact saved. He pressed it. The call connected after a single ring. This is Commissioner Lee. Jun Seo spoke without hesitation. My name is Kong Jun Seo. A long silence followed. Then the commissioner answered quietly. I've been waiting for this call. Jun Seo looked into the storm. I'll give you every name. His jaw tightened. Every account. Every warehouse. Every politician they own. The commissioner interrupted. In exchange? Jun Seo's answer came instantly. You helped me bring Nia home. As thunder rolled over Seoul, the commissioner gave a single reply. You have a deal. Nia's wrists burned against the plastic restraints. The black SUV sped through the empty streets of Seoul before disappearing into an abandoned industrial district near the city's outskirts. She forced herself to breathe. Panic wouldn't save her. Thinking would. The two men sitting beside her remained silent, their faces hidden beneath black masks. Every few seconds, one of them glanced at her as though making sure she hadn't somehow vanished. The convoy finally stopped in front of an old warehouse. As the doors opened, Nia was pulled outside. She immediately noticed dozens of armed guards patrolling the compound. This wasn't just a hideout. It was a fortress. Chairman Beck stood waiting near the entrance. "I'm sorry we had to meet under these circumstances," he said with a polite smile. "You don't look very sorry." He laughed. "I can see why Junaseo likes you." Nia lifted her chin. "He doesn't belong to you anymore." Beck's smile slowly faded. "Everyone belongs to someone. Not him. And certainly not me." For the first time, irritation flashed across the old man's face. He motioned toward the guards. "Lock her inside." As she was led away, Beck called after her. "If Junaseo comes, he'll die." Nia stopped walking. "No." She looked directly into his eyes. "You don't know the man he has become." Across the city, a convoy of black vehicles rolled toward an underground parking garage beneath an abandoned office building. One after another, men stepped out. Captains, trusted allies. Men who had once feared Kong Junaseo, and would now follow him one final time. The room fell silent as he entered. No introductions. No speeches. Every eye remained fixed on him. Junaseo placed a thick folder on the table. "This is everything." Inside were names, bank accounts, shipping routes, secret warehouses, corrupt officials. Every secret the organization had spent decades protecting. Minho looked stunned. "You've had this all along?" Junaseo nodded. "I started collecting evidence the day I decided to leave." One captain frowned. "You planned this for years." "I plan to end it." He looked around the room. "I won't force anyone to follow me." Silence. Then one man stood. "You once saved my son's life." Another stood. "You paid for my wife's surgery." A third removed the ring that symbolized his loyalty to the syndicate and placed it on the table. "You gave us a chance to become better men." Within seconds, every captain stood beside Junaseo. Not because they feared him, because they believed in him. Junaseo looked at Commissioner Lee. "No innocent people." The commissioner nodded. "My officers are already surrounding every property connected to Beck. This ends tonight." Back inside the warehouse, Nia quietly studied her surroundings. Rusted pipes. A loose ventilation grate. A broken chair. Then she smiled. Emergency medicine had taught her more than treating patients. It had taught her to improvise. Using a loose screw from the broken chair, she slowly worked at the plastic restraints around her wrists. It hurt, but after several agonizing minutes, snap, the restraints broke. She didn't celebrate. She listened. Two guards stood outside the room. Nia quietly loosened one of the old metal shelves inside the room. When the first guard opened the door, she shoved it forward. The heavy shelf crashed onto both men. Before they could recover, she sprinted into the hallway. Alarms erupted almost immediately. "There she is!" She ran without looking back. She heard footsteps closing in. Then, gunfire. Not aimed at her. At the guards chasing her. The warehouse doors exploded inward. Police officers flooded the building from one side. Junaseo and his loyal men entered from the other. Chaos erupted. Chairman Beck shouted in fury. "Kill them all!" Bullets echoed through the warehouse. Junaseo searched frantically. "Nee!" She heard his voice. "Junaseo!" Their eyes met across the factory floor. He started running toward her. A gunshot rang out. Beck had fired. Time seemed to slow. Nia watched the bullet racing toward Junaseo. Without thinking, she threw herself into him. They both crashed to the ground. The bullet struck a steel pillar behind them. Junaseo pulled her into his arms. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head. "You came. I promised I'd explain." She laughed through tears. "You picked a terrible time." Another shot interrupted them. Beck was trying to escape through a rear exit. Junaseo slowly stood. "No." He looked at Nia. "Stay here." He chased Beck through the warehouse and onto the rooftop. Rain poured relentlessly. The old man turned one final time. "You still can't kill me." Junaseo lowered his weapon. "You're right." Beck smiled. "I knew it. I won't become the man you raised." Police officers surrounded the rooftop from every direction. Commissioner Lee stepped forward. "It's over, Chairman Beck." The old man looked around. For the first time in decades, there was nowhere left to run. As officers approached, he looked back at Junaseo. "You destroyed everything." Junaseo answered quietly. "No." "You did." Beck closed his eyes as handcuffs clicked around his wrists. The empire he had built through fear had finally collapsed. 6 months later, spring has returned to Seoul. The hospital courtyard bloomed with colorful flowers. Nia finished her shift and walked outside. Someone was waiting. Junaseo. This time wearing an ordinary suit. No bodyguards. No convoy. No weapons. Only a small paper bag. She laughed. "Another elephant?" He smiled. "No." Inside was a tiny wooden heart carved by hand. "I made it myself." She looked surprised. "I've had a lot of free time." "You mean witness protection?" He laughed. "I can't deny that." Thanks to his testimony, dozens of corrupt officials and syndicate leaders had been convicted. Families were reunited, trafficking victims were rescued, and countless lives were spared because one man finally chose redemption over power. Nia looked at him. So? What happens now?" Junaseo reached for her hand. "I've spent my whole life fighting." He smiled softly. "I'd like to spend the rest of it living." Nia squeezed his hand. "I think I'd like that too." As they walked along the Han River, the same place where they had once shared uncertain conversations, they realized something neither of them had expected. She hadn't fallen in love with Korea's most feared mafia boss. She had fallen in love with the man who found the courage to leave that life behind. And he hadn't been saved on that rainy highway by chance. He had been given a second chance through the compassion of a young African woman who refused to walk away from a stranger. Sometimes, the strongest hearts aren't the ones that never break. They're the ones brave enough to change. If this story moved you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more unforgettable cinematic stories, and share it with someone who believes that love, courage, and redemption can change even the darkest of lives. And before you go, tell us in the comments. If you were Nia, would you have saved that stranger on the rainy highway? Not knowing who he really was?